This is the Reluctant Leader podcast, the podcast designed to help you if you've landed a leadership role through no fault of your own and now need to find out what you should be doing. I'm your host, Mark Terrell, and have been there and know what it feels like and made all the mistakes. In each episode, I'll be getting to grips with a leadership topic by interviewing an expert in their field. You'll find out why they do what they do and take away some top tips you can use to become a more confident leader. For more content and to keep in touch with how the project is developing, go to www.thereluctantleader.co.uk. If you have any comments about the episode, you'll find me on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. So let's crack on with the show. Today I'm talking to Susan Payton. Susan is a story strategist, coach and founder of the Business of Stories. In a noisy high-tech world where it is getting harder and harder to stand out from the crowd, Susan uses storytelling to help passionate entrepreneurs and business owners connect and build meaningful relationships with their target market. She recently flew to Nashville, Tennessee to train with Donald Miller, CEO of StoryBrand, a company that has helped more than 3,000 businesses clarify their marketing messages so that their customers listen. She is now one of only 2 certified StoryBrand guides in the UK. I hope you enjoy this chat we had about your brand story, and I will catch you all on the other side. Susan, welcome to the Reluctant Leader podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I met you. Well, I didn't actually meet you. I think we connected on LinkedIn, I think. I don't think we've actually met in person, have we? That's that typical thing these days. Saw what you were talking about a long time ago about stories and all that stuff. And to be honest, I didn't really get it straight away. I thought, okay. But now I really get it because it's really important. And obviously it's important to what I do with the Reluctant Leader project because it's my story, but I know it's a lot of my client's story as well. So before we get stuck into that stuff, I'm sure that most people would want to know, why do you do what you do, and what was the pivotal moment that took you down that path?
Okay, cool. So why I do what I do is quite simple, really. And it's just that I see business owners time and time again struggling with their messaging. They hate marketing because it's not working for them and they don't know what to do and they don't know what to talk about. And in particular, I love working with people who are out there making a difference. They're making an impact. They're changing people's lives, whether it's people's health or wealth or, helping them grow their business or whatever. They're out there. They can really help people. They can really make a difference. But if they don't get their messaging right, if they don't get their brand story right, then the phone's not going to be ringing, and they're not going to be able to do the work that they're here to do. They're not going to be able to make that huge difference that they can make. They're not going to be out there helping the people that they can help. So I kind of do my thing so that I can empower and help other people, clarify their message so they can go and do their thing. So that's my why. That's why I do what I do. And I had, I like you, my story resonates with my ideal client because I've struggled. I had a coaching business and I hadn't particularly niched. I wasn't really, my message wasn't very clear. I didn't really know what I was doing. I talked about a lot of stuff and it was a bit hit and miss. And, what gets engagement, what doesn't. Didn't really have any kind of strategy. And it's only when I kind of stopped and thought, okay, why am I doing this? And, what is my story? What's led me here? And what's my business about? What does it stand for? And I started looking for the stories. What's my ideal client? And what's their story? What's going on in their life? And it's only when I started to really dive in and understand those stories and where they all fit together that I realized that's it's so key. That's where I was going wrong. And a lot of businesses start with a logo and a website, and then suddenly they've got to knock out a brochure, or they're doing social media, and they haven't actually stopped and done this foundational piece around, okay, who am I and what do I stand for, and who's my customer, and what's their story, and what's the problem that I'm solving, and all of those things that we need to know for our messaging and our marketing to be really effective. The pivotal moment was actually, I've been talking a lot about the importance of story. I've been talking kind of, in blog posts and various places. It was kind of, I was beginning to talk more and more about, dive into your story and tell people your story. And, story is so important. But still with my kind of coaching hat on, and still it was one of those things that I did with my clients, was help them clarify their story and kind of unpack it and everything else. And then I was in a business accelerator program, is what I was looking for, at the uni. And one of the kind of guy that was leading it, we would been talking, I brought up, the story and how important it was and everything. And he said, I totally get it. I totally get how important storytelling is in your marketing. And I'd really love to do something at the uni. I'd love to do a workshop at the uni for business owners about how to tell their story. And I said, oh, that sounds really awesome. Make sure you tell me the date and I'll come. And he was like, well, I was kind of hoping that you'd be at the front of the room, delivering it. I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember leaving that evening, getting in my car to drive home, and suddenly just having like a tingle all over and a smile from ear to ear, and thinking, I think this is my thing. I think I found it. I think this is it. Because kind of all the other stuff I was doing, helping people with strategy and how to set up a business and next steps to take and all of that, suddenly I thought, if you don't get this bit right, if this isn't where you start from, then really the rest of it isn't going to help. And that was it. Literally within a week, the Business of Stories was born, and I'd changed my website, bought the domain, created a kind of a framework that I knew would work. I mean, that's over the years I've refined that and what have you. But literally within a week, I was up and running as the Business of Stories. I just thought, this is it. This is what I need to do. I need to help people tell their story.
I can absolutely resonate with exactly what you said. I set out to do good and make a difference, but I didn't spend enough time thinking about, well, who is it I want to help? I think a lot of people go, especially coaches, go out and say, well, I can help everybody. I don't have to differentiate myself. If I do that, then I just stop myself from working with other people. But what we need to do is actually have that, whether you want to call it a niche, your story, you need to differentiate yourself in some way. And most people will resonate with your journey, your story, whichever you want to call it, and actually say, yeah, that's me. That's what I did. And, how can I prevent myself doing that? Blah, blah, blah. So it is really, really important, but it's not easy, is it?
It's not easy, no. And that is the thing, is that, we're so close. Well, we're so close to our own story, that people say, but I haven't got a story, my story's not interesting, or I'm not sure what my story's got to do with my business, or, who wants to hear it? But it's the place to start, because, quite often when I was working with, and I was particularly at that time working with women who wanted to start their own business, and whenever they would get to that point where they'd say, oh, I don't know who I'm working with, or I don't know what my niche is, or anything else, and I would say, okay, start with your story. Tell me your story. And in particular, tell me about the challenges. Tell me about the things you've overcome, the obstacles you faced and what have you. And the minute they would start talking about that, it would be crystal clear, what their values are, what's important to them, who they're talking to, who they love working with, how they can help people, how those challenges, how those things that they've overcome are going to really resonate with the people that they really want to work with. So it would all come out of their story. I kind of cringe when I hear marketing agencies saying to people, like, here's a list of values. Can you tick 5 that, your 5 most important values? And I think, your values don't come off a piece of paper with 100 words on. Your values come from your story. And whenever people start telling me their story, you learn so much from it. And it's the start point, don't start banging up websites and writing marketing copy if you haven't actually, first of all, gone through your own story and worked out what bits of my story are actually going to resonate with my audience. But it isn't easy because you are very close to it, and you're very close to your business. You know, you've probably been doing what you do for years. You've got language that you use that's actually other people are not familiar with. You know, you forget what it's like to not know what you now know. So there's a book called The Art of Explanation, and he talks about the curse of knowledge, you know, where you just get to a point where you know so much about what you do that it's actually quite hard to step into the shoes of somebody who doesn't know what you do and explain it to them in a way that's really clear and concise and compelling.
Yeah, I absolutely get that, and sometimes you can come across as arrogant in some ways, that you know something that somebody else doesn't. You don't mean to, but it just happens that way because you think, well, what do you mean you don't know this stuff? But
and it puts up a barrier. You know, if somebody's telling me what they do and I don't get it, you know, and I ask and I say, what does that mean? You know, explain it, and they explain it, and I still don't get it. Well, I don't want to look stupid anymore, so I'll say, okay, great. You know, and I'll move on. It's taking too much effort. I'm burning up too many calories. I'm wasting too much energy trying to work out what they do. You know, none of us want to look stupid. We all want to look like we know what we're doing. So there will come a point where your audience will just switch off and say, look, he obviously he's not talking in a way I understand. You know, I don't get it. I'm just going to move on and find someone else that I do understand what they do.
I can think back when the Reluctant Leader brand came into being. It wasn't my intention, but it just came about. And a bit like your story, when you said about, you know, brand story gave you those tingling moments. It was similar. And I thought, well, actually, this is what I really want to talk about. This is what happened to me. I want to prevent people from making the same mistakes. And this is what I'm really passionate about because, you know, and it really does. It suddenly hits a note, doesn't it? And you think, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that happened around the same time that I forgot to say was that I told my story. So, you know, in this group of women in business that I'd built up, about 1,500 women, and I hadn't really ever told my story. And, you know, my story was very much that, you know, I'd worked in media, and I worked with celebrities, and I'd worked in events. I bought loads of properties. I was managing, you know, I had 4 or 5 properties on the go. And I was doing it all on my own. I was actually a single mum at the time. So, you know, had lots going on, and a busy life, and working in London and everything else. And then literally overnight, my world fell apart, and the property market crashed, and I ended up losing all of my properties because I had just taken all of the equity out and put it into a big development with a developer who then disappeared off the face of the earth. Everything just, I got very ill. I actually got diagnosed with ME, and I was really struggled for a few years. And then I got my life back on track. I got my health back on track. I moved away. I met my husband. I had another daughter in my 40s, and everything turned around. I did something called the lightning process. Then I became a practitioner. I studied NLP and hypnotherapy, and I was, you know, life coaching, and then eventually I got onto business coaching, and eventually I got onto my storytelling. So, but it's when I told my story that I really understood the power of it, because people started contacting me saying, you know, my God, I literally in the middle of the night, women were sending me messages saying, I just listened to your story, and, you know, it's so powerful, and I've resonated with it so much. And people started to tell me a bit of their story. And that's the other thing with story. You know, you think it's about you. You think you're telling your story, but actually what you're doing is co-creating, because what the person who's listening starts to think about their story. Actually, where does, you know, what bits of that story connect with my story? And it makes them kind of step into their own story. So that people start coming back to me saying, you know, I was a single mum, or I lost everything in the property market crash, or, you know, I've been ill and been trying to get my life back on track, or I've had chronic fatigue. And, you know, and I suddenly realised that you kind of open that space and people, you know, feel connected to you. And literally people were coming back to me saying, God, I've been in your group for a year, but I've never really connected with you. You know, can you tell me a bit more about your coaching? You know, I got clients from it because people just suddenly wanted to connect with me because they thought she'll get me. And this is it. This is what it boils down to, is people hear your story and they'll think, like people will hear your story and think, he's going to get me. He's been there. He's been down that road that I'm on now, but he's further ahead in the journey and he knows how to get me, where I want to get to. And that's the power of story.
Yeah. So before we get into how maybe we can get back to working out what our story is, I know recently you've taken another step for your business, haven't you?
Yeah.
And to step down the same route, but obviously just tell us about what that was.
Yeah, well, I came across a couple of years ago, a company called Story Brand, a guy called Donald Miller, really clever guy. He was actually originally a writer. He wrote 10 books. I think they're all memoirs, actually, but, really good writer. So he spent his life trying to keep his audience engaged, keep them turning the pages and everything. When he decided he wanted to start his own company, he used kind of what he'd learned from storytelling. He used the same storytelling framework that he'd used to write books to actually write his marketing and clarify his own company's message. And the company exploded. And he realized that actually the framework he was using to write his messaging was more valuable than the business he was using that messaging to grow. And he started teaching other business owners, how to clarify their messaging and how to kind of use storytelling framework so that people would really engage with it and buy into it. And that's basically how Story Brand was born. So he's created this 7-step framework that he hasn't invented it's been around for thousands of years, the kind of classic storytelling structure where you have a hero and he's got to go and fight the demons, or he's got challenges to overcome. He's got to go on a journey and he meets someone along the way that's going to help him. He meets his Yoda or his some guide that's going to help him get there, and he overcomes the challenges and he goes on and he wins the day. And it's the classic kind of, story structure that you'll see in every movie you ever go to. But he's very, very cleverly put it into 7 steps, 7 sound bites that you need to get really, really clear on for your business. And then, tell it in a way that it's clear, it's simple, it's easy to understand. Your customers can repeat it, tell it to other people, and then word will spread. Because the problem is that if we're not doing that, if our messaging is too complicated or there's too much in it, then people get confused, they get overwhelmed, and they just move on. People haven't got the time or the capacity to spend ages trying to work out what you do. So Story Brand, he also brought out a book last year on called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that every single one of your listeners reads it, because even if you're not doing marketing, whether you are talking to people, whether you use words, in your business, if you have to communicate with other people, if you speak to your customers, if you, have to write any kind of social media, any kind of messaging or marketing, or give a talk, or have a meeting go the way you want it to go, read Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, because it's awesome. So what I did last month was actually fly out to Nashville and spend 5 days in a room with Donald Miller, training to be an official certified Story Brand guide. So basically, Story Brand teaches you the framework. It teaches you these are the seven parts of the framework that you need to get right. But it doesn't help you. They don't have people that will one-to-one help you, take you by the hand and implement it and make sure you're doing it right. So what he does now is he trains people from all over the world to be his official Story Brand guides. And there is a separate website now that you can go to look up and find an official Story Brand guide that will actually take you by the hand and help you implement this, process to clarify your message into your business. And there's actually 2 of us in the UK now. There's another guy that did it. I think he did it last year, and I've just done it. So there's only 2 of us, which is pretty awesome. But highly recommend the book. A great place to start. A really easy read. You're listening to it, aren't you, at the moment?
Yes, I've got it on Audible, and I have ordered a copy of the book, to be honest, because I'm not a great Audible fan. I like listening now and again, but to be honest, I seem to read better than listen. We've all got our different.
I tend to do both these days. I tend to listen, and then if I love the book, I get the hard copy because I know I'm going to want to, make little notes or highlight bits or go back and do the exercises or whatever it is.
That's right. I think that's what I've done. So I've got halfway through it thinking that's just really interesting. I must get the book and read it properly. And go back to it. So I think it's an ideal time now then you've mentioned the 7 steps. I think everybody, I'm sure, will be dying to know what those 7 steps are. So can we just run through what those 7 steps are?
Yeah, we can. I mean, number 1 is always, you've got to know who your customer is and what they want. Mm-hmm. Every film starts with the character, or every story starts with the character. They want something. They want to be someone. They want to achieve something. They want to get somewhere. They want to, there's some kind of transformation that they want. There's some kind of change. They want something that they haven't got, and they don't know how to get it. They're ill-equipped. They don't know. They haven't got the answers. So number 1 is knowing who they are, and it's so important. And you talked earlier about people being a bit reluctant to niche, or a bit reluctant to only talk to a specific target market for fear of losing out on other people. But time and time again, I've worked with people and seen that the more they are clear about who they are speaking to, the more specific they can be about that person and what's going on for them and what they want, where they are now and where they're trying to get to. The more specific they can be about that, the more that person will hear them, that your messaging will speak to them, because you're really being very clear about who they are and what they want. If you try and talk to everybody, you can't possibly have that clarity, so it's not really going to stick with anybody. So the more specific you can be about who they are and what they want, the better. And then number 2 is understanding the problem. Every story, again, we start with the problem. Jason Bourne, needs to know who he is. He doesn't know who he is, and he needs to go and find out. Luke Skywalker gets back, and his parents have been killed, and he's got to go off and defeat the Empire. And there's a problem. There's something that they need to solve. If there wasn't a problem, we'd lose interest very, very quickly. If it was about what a great day Luke Skywalker was having, and what he's going to have for dinner tonight, or whatever, there's no story there. So the story's got to start with the problem. So you've got.
And that's a key thing to remember for any business. We're all problem solvers, one way or the other, aren't we? Absolutely.
Your customer has got a problem that you can solve, you can help them solve. And where where your story comes into it is normally that you know how to solve that problem because you've been there. Most of us are our ideal client, or were at some time. You know how to help them solve that problem because you've been there. Or you've helped tons of other people get there, and you've got a process that people can follow and what have you. But number 2 is that you need to understand, first of all, what is the problem that you're solving. If you don't know that, then your messaging is going to be all over the place. So what's the problem that you're solving, and how is having that problem making people feel? How's your customer, where are they right now? What's the problem they've got? And, they're lying in bed 2:00 in the morning staring at the ceiling. What are those words going around in their head? How's that making them feel? How's it stopping them from being the person they want to be? That thing that we said in number 1, what they want, what's in the way? What's stopping them from getting there?
Right.
So we've identified who the character is, we've identified what they want, and we've identified what's in the way and what's the problem. Mm-hmm. Then you've got their attention. Then you're speaking to them, and they can see straight away that you get them. And people. I've worked with clients where they've then gone on to have feedback where people say, God, it's like you've got in my head. You're actually using the words that I use to describe that problem. So it's very, very powerful when people can see that you really, really get them. So then you can enter the story, because so far the story's been about them. So far it's been, who are they and what's their problem? So now you can enter, and you want to enter the story as the kind of the Yoda for Luke Skywalker. There's always, in every story, there's some kind of guide. There's some kind of sage. There's Simba in The Lion King had Rafiki that got him to look in the river and see his dad's reflection, and you've got Mary Poppins, you've got Dumbledore was there for Harry Potter. I mean, when you think back through the films that you love, a lot of them will have this kind of guide in there that's just literally guiding them through past those challenges, over those obstacles, showing them that they've got everything they need in them to get through and go on and win the day. So you want to position yourself as that guide. And the mistake a lot of businesses make is they think they're the hero. They think they're the hero of the story. They think it's about them. A lot of, the mistake a lot of businesses make is they think it's about them. They think that they're the hero of the story. But you don't want to be the hero of the story. You want to be the guide, because your customer they are the hero of their own story. They want to get somewhere. They want to be someone. They want to have that transformation. They're not out there looking for another hero. They're looking for someone to guide them. They're looking for someone that's going to help them get where they want to get to. So you want to position yourself as the guide. The guide's the stronger character anyway. The guide's the wise one. He's already conquered the demons, and he's got a plan, and he's going to lead you through to success, whereas the hero is the one that's kind of ill-equipped and needs help, and so you want to position yourself as that strong guide in the story. And you do that by showing empathy, that bit of your story that shows that I get you, I've been there, I understand, I understand the struggle. And authority, we want to know that our guide knows what they're doing. So, you just want to show that you've done it before, and that might be a couple of testimonials on your website, but that's what we want to know about our guide, that they get us and they've done it before, they're competent, they know what they're doing, they can get us where they want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, even when you tell your own story, if you were doing your own about page, if I'm writing an about page for a client, I even start that with the customer story, so I did one last week for somebody actually. She works with women in help them with their career and career choices and what have you. So we literally started her about page with, I know how you're feeling, I know what it feels like to be stuck in a job that no longer fills you with joy, or to feel overwhelmed or lost about what to do next. So you start there. You're immediately positioning yourself as a guide with empathy. I get you. I know I've been there, that I've been where you are now, but I got out of it. I got past it. I've moved on to, I had the happy ever after, and I can show you how to get that too. Yeah. So where are we? What number we're on? Number 5, I think. And then the guide has a plan. You want to have a plan, and by plan we mean that we want to show that yes, we've been there, and yes, we've done it before, but actually it's really easy. There's just to get started, we just want to give them like 3 steps. So whether it's 3 steps to selling your car, or 3 steps to how to work with me, what to do next, or 3 steps might be let's get together and work out your goals, let's make a plan and work together to implement it. And number 3 is so that you can go on, grow your business and have the life that you want to live. But it's just laying down some kind of path in front of them so that it's easy for them to say yes. It's easy for them to take the next step forward. I've gone to so many websites where the business talks about what they do and they talk about how they can help you, but there is no actual, it's not easy for me to immediately see, okay, what do I do next? Some people don't even have a call to action at the top of their website. Book a call, schedule an appointment, or whatever your call to action is. Make it really simple. And having this kind of 3-step plan. I mean, every website that I've created for a client, there'll always be a 3-step plan on there. The Good Witch said to Dorothy at the Wizard of Oz, just follow the yellow brick road. You want to put a path out in front of them that says all you have to do. Don't feel overwhelmed. You don't need to feel lost. You don't need to feel all of those things, all those problems you've got. I can help you solve them. And actually, all you need to do is put the right foot forward and then your left foot, and you're going to be walking towards success. Mm. So a 3-step plan is really good way of showing people that, this is all you need to do to get to where you want to get to. I'm not saying, you might have a 20-step plan of actually what you do when you work with somebody, but it's laying something simple down in front of them that says step 1, and that's actually the most important step because that's the bit you're asking them to do first.
Yeah, I think what I'm thinking there is that most people, if they've got a problem, are feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
And the last thing you want to do is overwhelm them that it's 20 steps.
Yeah.
That's not really going to help them. They're going to think, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to even take 1 step, let alone 20 steps. But
absolutely.
1 step at a time, isn't it?
Yeah, and three steps is good. 4 is okay, 5 is too many. Studies have shown if you do 5 steps, people start to, your things drop. There isn't as much engagement. So 3 steps is good. And this isn't, like you said, this is to do the opposite of overwhelm. This is to make people go, oh, okay. So all I need to do actually is pick up the phone and have that initial meeting where we can discuss, what the next steps are. And then I'm moving forward. I've taken that first step. This guy, or woman, I keep saying guy, but, this guide obviously knows how to get me where I want to get to. And he's shown me what step number 1 is and has made it easy, because like you say, they're feeling overwhelmed and so the next step is actually to have that clear call to action, at the end of your plan or on your website or on your any messaging or marketing that you send out. Always tell them what the next step is. Always make it really, really clear what they need to do next. Mm-hmm. And again, don't confuse, don't overwhelm. I often say if you're in a building and there's a door that they want you to go out of, if in case of a fire, they'll put fire exit. They make it really clear. They don't say, well, this is a door that we would like you to go out if in case of a fire, but we understand that you might want to go and look around. There might be other doors you like the look of, but, really ideally we'd like to come back and use this door. They don't. They make it really clear and really simple. Exit, and that's what you want to do. You want to make it very clear what you want your customers to do next. So all of those things kind of position you as the guide, the confident guide. I know how to get you to where you want to go, and these are the steps, and this is what you need to do next. So then the last, what number are we on? Have you?
Well, I think we're at last one. Yes, I've been noting down. So I think 7 is the last one. Yeah. So the
last one is, what are the stakes? You need to put some stakes in the game. If there's nothing at stake, then again we'll lose interest. Donald Miller actually uses a great example that I love, which he says, if Liam Neeson's, another one of his daughters has been kidnapped. Another one is his daughter's got a bomb strapped to her, so he's on the plane flying out to somewhere to go and find her and rescue her. If on the way over there he gets a call saying, actually, there is a bomb attached to your daughter, but we know it's not a real bomb. It's actually full of baby powder. So don't panic. It'd be great for you to get here anyway, but don't worry too much because it's only baby powder, And he spends the next 45 minutes of the film trying to get to her to get this pack of baby powder off of her. Everyone's walked out of the cinema. Yeah. There's nothing at stake. So we need to put some stakes in the game. So we do that by talking about what can be lost and what can be won. So what's going to be lost if your customer doesn't deal with this problem? What are they not going to get if they don't buy your product or service or, solve this problem? What are they going to lose? What are they going to miss out on? Are they going to stay stuck? Are they going to get worse? Are they going to get left behind? Is their health going to get worse? Are they going to get more in debt? Is their business going to fail? So it's kind of that, what can be lost if you don't take action, if you don't go on this journey. And you don't want to overdo this bit, we don't want, because that can have a negative effect if, and I have seen people just pile this on too thick.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of that, thinking, oh my God, it's all a bit doom and gloomy. I think I'll walk away from that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, what it is helping them see what you can help them avoid. It's being clear about what you can help them avoid. So you want to touch on it. You want to put some stakes in the game. You want to remind people that if they do nothing, chances are nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So you want to remind them.
And what I was going to just to sum up really is that obviously Simon Sinek talks about, people buy why you do what you do, not how you do it and what you do. It's more about your why. And what we're doing here is actually giving people a clear idea of why we do it and how we can, why we want to help them. And also reminding them of their why. Why do you want to change this? Why do you want to solve this problem? Why do you want to lose that weight? Why do you need to grow your business? Why do you need to get out of debt? Why do you need to get your team all on the same page? It's remind them of their why. So the other part of, what can be lost is what can be won. What's your life going to look like if you do solve this problem? What's your life going to look like if you do, work with me or buy my product or my service? Paint that picture, that vision of success, and you can overdo this bit all day long. You can't overdo this. You want to really pile that success on, remind people what their life's going to look like. So it's what's your life going to look like if you don't solve it, and you stay here, and what's your life going to look like if you do solve it and you do move on and you go and fulfill your dream and you win the day and everything else. And the best way of doing that is to telling your customers stories, customers that you've worked with, celebrating their successes. Because again, people think that a testimonial is about, about them, that you want somebody to say, oh yeah, she was great working with Susan, I loved her process. Actually, that's not what your testimonial should be about. It should be, what success did your customer experience as a result of working with you? That's a much more powerful story. Absolutely, yeah. This is excellent. Unfortunately, time is getting away from us and we need to wrap things up. So what we normally do is to leave listeners with 3 quick top tips that they can take away from what we've been talking about today, so they can maybe implement it sooner rather than later. What would they be?
Okay, cool. Well, number 1 would always be, make sure your messaging is really, really super clear. You want to grab people's attention. You want to be really specific about who you're talking to. You want to have one message, one offering that is super easy to understand. So keep it clear, keep it really simple. Use storytelling. You don't want to just be, we've moved from transactional marketing, which is very much, this is my product, this is how much it costs, this is what size it comes in, do you want to buy it? We've moved away from that with Facebook and social media and all of these things. So it's much more about building relationships now. It's much more about using your story, using their story, talking about people, your why, talking about, I watched a little video on LinkedIn this morning actually about a guy who was talking about that pivotal moment that he decided to follow his dream and be a videographer. And it's only a 2-minute video, but it was very, very powerful because it was his story, and you immediately saw why he's doing what he's doing. And we all want to work with people that are passionate about what they're doing. So number 2 would definitely be, look at your marketing, see where you can start using story. And number 3 would be, remember that you need to be the guide in your customer story. You're not the hero, I'm afraid. And actually, for all the reasons we've talked about, you don't want to be the hero. You want to be the guide. You want to be that strong, wise character, that person that's going to guide them through these challenges that they've got, overcome the obstacles that are in the way, and help lead them to success, where they get to win the day and, get that transformation that they want.
Excellent.
Be the guide.
So be Yoda or Mary Poppins.
Be Yoda. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Susan, for your time today. It's been excellent. I'm really passionate about this stuff because I've learned the hard way. Really didn't sort of take it enough, and I think hopefully we've explained it and made it clear how important it is, especially at the early stages of any business. Make sure that's your story and why you do is clear. So thank you very much, and
you're welcome.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat about this maybe in real life. Who knows?
No, we should definitely.
But for now, I'll say goodbye.
Lovely. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to leave a review. Don't forget to check out the Reluctant Leader project at www.thereluctantleader.co.uk. Make a note to start, stop, or continue doing whatever struck a chord in this episode. And until next time, be the best you can be.